Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Probably true. You know what really sucks, man? Welcome to the show. Here's what sucks. I was chewing the gum. I just swallowed it. I was chewing the gum as we were about to start off the show, and man, I bit the second time in a week out of my cheek. You would think by now that we would have invented some kind of, just ability to put something in your mouth and that sounds terrible. Shut up, Rob. Don't soundbite that. He might. He will. You put something in your mouth and fix it if you bite your, your cheek. Welcome to Gabbin' Games, delightful friends. The 17th of October, racing into the Halloween season. It is nice to see everybody, including
Bill Spencer! Bill Spencer! Bill Spencer, baby, let's go! Yeah!
Is Phil Spencer here today? Maybe. He watches the show from time to time. I don't know if that's true. What do you think if that's true? Anyway, did I check out the Xbox third party? Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Bukaki says that's not a good sign. You should see a neurologist if you're being serious. Because I bit my cheek when I was chewing 3 pieces of bubble gum? I don't think so. I could be wrong. Listen to this, though. We're going to get into video games, and I'll talk to you guys and all that good stuff. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the show. Members, non-members, Patreon members. Let me tell you something real quick. If you're considering a membership as the Christmas season rolls in as a gift for yourself, there's very little you could do in this world. As UFO UAP disclosure races towards us, we've got a brand new UAP congressional hearing led by the very sexy and sexually active, and if you know, you know, Nancy Mace. She's leading this cavalcade of chaos coming up in November. I think full disclosure is coming soon. The world is coming to an end, which means you need a little self-care, a little self-love. Not that kind of self-love. Bukaki, stop touching yourself. You're going to go blind. The point is, a little bit of self-love goes a long way. Get yourself a Gabbin' Games membership at any tier. Why not start today here on the Patreon? If you like podcasts, Patreon's more for you. If you like the live chat, YouTube's your bread and butter. And then, of course, we have a Discord like all the cool kids. Speaking of, Saturday is Lunch with Jaffe. It's going to be at about 11:30. Cult Calypso members and mods are all welcome to come and hang out and shoot the shit and talk games, and obviously above Cult Calypso. And then the next weekend, we're going to go back to Pot and Popcorn. People were requesting it, so that's coming up for members as well. So listen to this. Listen to this. I'm watching the last. We're gonna get to games, I promise. But I'm gonna front load this with some. You know, a lot of these podcasts do that shit, and you're like, dude, I'm trying to hear about politics. I don't give a fuck about your personal life. I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm the same, but I got some shit I want to share, and it's cool. And you know, if you need to skip ahead, if you're watching after the fact, not a problem. Otherwise, come back in about 10 minutes. But I want to talk about a couple things. I'm watching the last episode last night of the Vince McMahon documentary, Mr. McMahon, on Netflix. It's great, especially if you're even somewhat tangentially interested, engaged with the wrestling. And you know what's fascinating about this was he was abused, Vince McMahon, physically abused as a child. And by his stepdad. And then when he's a teenager, he meets his actual father, who is Vince McMahon Sr., and he brings him into the wrestling biz, blah, blah, blah. And his whole life, Vince McMahon Sr. never really showed much love. I don't think he ever said he was proud, never was affectionate with Vince McMahon. So then Vince McMahon has these 2 children, Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon, and they're all in the documentary, and they're built into the company now and all this stuff. And it's just fascinating because Vince McMahon is really the most successful human ever in professional wrestling. As awful as he is, as a piece of shit, as a piece of work as he is, given the accusations and the clearly accurate accusations that have come out about him recently, you know, you go, okay, well, at least he was a little bit better with his kids. And it's funny because the documentary kind of takes Shane McMahon, his son, and it's like, well, Shane really wanted to be the next Vince, but he never really had the eye of the tiger. He was never smart enough, this, that, and the other. But what it shows at the end, though, is that Shane McMahon, though, has 3 boys. And he is loving and he dotes on them and he's physically affectionate with them. And he says, I love you. And there's this one shot at the end where you can see Vince McMahon Jr., meaning Vince McMahon, the one we know, looking at Shane hugging his kids. And you can see this sense of longing on Vince McMahon Jr.'s face. And it's just, the reason I bring it up is it never fails to fascinate me how the people who do the most creative, interesting, passionate work are the ones that are the most broken. And once you get your shit sorted out, you end up kind of not needing to create. So it's so interesting that like Shane was like, I want to be in that role that my dad was in. I want to be the creative, powerhouse that my dad was and take wrestling to the next step and everything. It's like, you can't, because you're not as broken. You're not as destroyed. Nuke Sony says, so that's why you're not broken. Well, I was broken, like everybody is broken. But I got over it. I worked through it. And while I still certainly have interest in creative work, I think that's probably one of the reasons, not all, of course. You still have people like Clint Eastwood's whose movies are still working. You've got bands who are still doing relevant stuff. It's not everyone. But I would say the vast majority of people do their best creative work in their 20s and 30s because they're adults, they have power, they have the ability to get things done, but they haven't worked their shit out yet. I thought it was such a fascinating thing to actually see the chain of Vince Sr., Vince Jr., Shane McMahon, and then his children. So it's got nothing to do with video games so much as it is just the creative process. And I know there's a lot of people who watch the show that are either in games or they do creative work, they're in bands. So this doesn't just apply to wrestling. It applies to just like, I don't know, maybe if you're out there struggling, trying to quote, make it and connect with an audience and you haven't yet, maybe it's because you're not fucked up enough, and trust me, once you get unfucked, you don't want to go back. It's interesting stuff. Awesome says it explains why the best music is usually when artists are young and angry about everything. That's right. Nuke Sony, I know it was a joke. Nuke Sony says that the joke was that you're not creative or do passionate work because you're not broken. Yeah, sure. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what I am. I don't know. I mean, you never know how broken you really are. The top 3 creatives, asked Zeke, working in gaming with Vince McManus type dark sides. I don't know. I mean, I don't, a lot of them have been sort of, pushed out, right? I mean, I've never met, the guy from Ubisoft, Michael Ansel, who did the Beyond Good and Evil and Rayman and, clearly a creative guy, a talented guy, but he apparently was a toxic asset, as they said. So maybe he was one of them. Maybe Bobby Kotick, Addy Pie says, yeah, Bobby Kotick, at least according to Michael Pachter, who knows him and actually likes him as a human, says, the biggest flaw with Kotick is he's insatiably greedy. And that comes from somewhere. But yeah, I wouldn't know. I mean, I don't really tolerate assholes. Even when I was working at Sony, I was like, look, there's only room for one broken asshole. And that's me. I already got the job. Okay. Couple other things before we get going. I appreciate that. Johnny says, looking good with the glasses. They're my costume glasses. I appreciate that, but I have to take them off because I've got to show you guys some stuff. Look what came in the mail. It's slim pickings, fellas and fillettes these days, because I'm excited for the Amazon holiday gift book. Man, Jojo D's in the chat. He knows. When we were kids, he's roughly my age. We got the JCPenney catalog around this time of year. It was a 400-page tome. The phone book was scared of the JCPenney catalog. That's an old joke for people who are old. That's how thick it was. That's how many pages. And the last 50 pages were geek shit. It was toys and video games and consoles and electronics. Yeah, the Sears catalog as well. So I was excited when I got this in the mail because I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of a little bit of a throwback to that, but it's not really. There's nothing good in here. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of crap. But look what else came in the mail today. Dude. I got the print edition. So I get the print edition. I don't know how often they're going to send it out, but they said, subscribe and we'll send you can get on the website and we'll send you a print edition. Here's what it says. As you may know, we've had a long award-winning battle with UPS. Whatever, I don't care. Fuck you. Check it. Oh, they even signed it with their handwritten signing. But look at that. I actually got a copy of The Onion. I know you're like, big deal. They used to put this on street corners, man, but not anymore. I miss physical media. Look at this. Tim Walz, here's the headline if you want to hear it. Tim Walz unveils new retro futurist persona after feeling boxed in by folksy image. That's pretty good. Supreme Court rules 6-3 to open the evil tomb of Batabat. I don't know who that is, but that's great. Come on, man. Oh, that's big. Come on. So I'm excited. I like physical shit. I dig it. Okay. When I was a kid, my uncles always gave me the Victoria's Secret catalog. Yeah, I mean that came in the mail too, man. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, that was still really successful even when the internet was around, which always confused me because I was just kind of like, why would you care about the Victoria's Secret catalog when you got the internet? But I guess people are into that shit, I suppose. The physical version, but it's like it's on the internet. Jaffe, did you see the EGM Gaming Monthly Compendium Kickstarter? I did. They actually, I may be in that. I know they reached out to me and said, do you want to do an interview or do you want to talk about your experiences with EGM? And I get asked that, those kind of things enough that frankly, I've kind of forgotten the ones I've done because they end up, stacking up, right? So you do this and 2 years later it comes out. So I don't remember if I actually took them up on their offer, but I know they asked me. But my understanding is they're not republishing it. Kickstarter, EGM. It's basically just a big book that, here, I'll show it to you real quick. It's a big hardback book that is already funded in less than, they've gotten 250,000 and they were looking for 35,000 and they got basically 30 days to go. It's just basically the history of the magazine. Hang on. From 19. So here it is on the screen. We can talk while we're watching it, but it's basically, EGM was the real, the biggest magazine about video games for the longest time. I loved it. I loved getting it. And I guess this goes through each issue, like each page is an issue or every couple of pages is an issue, and it shows you the highlights and the reviews, and they do interviews with like the editors and people who work there and stuff, which is cool. And I know they tried to bring it back, for like, they kind of ran it for maybe 6 months and it went out of business again. I was in the relaunch issue. I remember this. I went to a restaurant with a guy named Brady Flechter, who was the editor at the time. And they got a professional photographer and they were like, we want to start doing actual like Rolling Stone interviews with game developers. We want you to be the first one. And it was a really good interview. I really enjoyed it. But it just, print was dying. Right. And so, but the people who grew up with it, like you guys and me, it is pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool that it's coming out. I don't have any intention of, funding it. I mean, I don't, maybe I'll buy it, but I'm not, hey, there was Sweet Tooth. I'm good, but I think it's cool. I think it's great. It's absolutely great. Oh, you're not wrong, Arathizzle. There's so many horror games. There's way too many. Yeah, right now the PlayStation Store is having a horror video game sale up to 80% off on a bunch of their horror titles. So if you're looking to buy something spooky for the Halloween season, it is a really great time to do it over on the Sony. So anyway, again, like I said, don't forget grilled cheese, I mean, you don't have to have grilled cheese, but lunch with Jaffe's coming up. Cult of Calypso members and higher and all mods over on the Discord coming up this Saturday around 11:30. I'll get you more details very, very soon. Let me ask you guys a question before we move into our own video game data and news. I'm on Constellation tomorrow. I did a Sacred Symbols Plus with Colin. That'll be hitting Saturday for Patreon members. And then I'm doing this with Dagan and a couple other people tomorrow. The way it works is, and if you don't know what Constellation is, it's sort of a conversational podcast. It can be about whatever. There's 4 people on it, and every person brings just something they're interested in talking about. It doesn't have to be game related. It can be absolutely whatever you want. And the host of it, in this case, Dagan's hosting it, sends out an email and says, hey, this is my topic. What do you guys want to talk about? And I don't fucking know. And I'm like, Awesome Tatum says, what's your topic? I'm like, that's why I'm talking to you guys. What do you think? Here, I was going to do, I don't know why, I was going to do like, maybe it's because the James Gunn picture of Superman and Crypto yesterday or the day before. I love Superman. He battles Spidey for my favorite superhero. I love how hopeful that picture was. If you haven't seen it, the James Gunn Superman directed James Gunn. God damn it, James Gunn directed Superman Crypto movie. It's not a crypto movie, but whatever. That picture came out, looks great. So I was thinking maybe talking about superheroes a little bit. Like, I don't know, I'm 52 and I still love fucking superheroes. Maybe superheroes, but I don't know. I got nothing right now. I mean, usually it kind of comes up in the morning. I kind of get the idea. Talk about the death of cable TV and the rise of streaming, says John. I mean, I have nothing new to say on that. It's kind of obvious. I think it's a good topic, but it's all been said. So point is, if anybody's got a real cool topic that they think I would be good for and you want to hear us talk about, let me know. I'm not saying I'll do it, but perhaps you've got a better idea than I'm going to come up with tomorrow.
No offense, David Jaffe, but that's bullshit.
Okay. Your most terrifying incident as a kid, says Addie Pie. I don't know what it is, but I'd have to think about it. Kevy, I could talk about D&D. I'm getting hardcore into the D&D, you guys. I'm making a standalone non-chat video soon about this. I'm not even going to get into it. Just know that I'm super hardcore into D&D suddenly. I'm loving it. I have a feeling I'm going to be with it for a long time. Jaffe, have you ever heard of Stitch and Adam's show on YouTube? No. I think you'd have a great show with them. They typically cover politics, but there's tons of crossover. It sounds like they're big, and if they're big, I have no way of getting in touch with these people. So if you know them and they are like, yeah, Jaffe's cool, I know who that is, bring them on. Or tell them, and I'd love to. Morgan says, talk about Shuhei Yoshida's work with the indie sector. Maybe, yeah. I think you should all talk about how game releases have seemed to move from Christmas to February, March. Yeah, I try to keep it away from games, though, just because, we're always talking games on their shows and their channels. Colin and I, mostly, all we talked about was games. In fact, let's move on, but I'm just letting you know. Listen to this now. I have to read this comment. And I want you guys to listen, because I don't lie to you guys. I don't have any, I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't, how do I put this? I'm not going to compromise my integrity just to get you to like what I have to say. So I'm not a liar. And Smoking on Fire says, Jaffe, I've been using cloud gaming the past few days, and it upsets me, he says, to affirm all the things you have been saying are correct. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. It works great, Morgan, if you have good internet and if you're close to a data center. That's true. That's true. All right. Listen to this, though. Somebody asked, they said, what are you playing right now off stream? I'm playing this. I started playing this last night or the night before. It took, I liked it immediately. If you're listening and not looking, it's The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I started playing it. It took maybe, it didn't take a while to get good, because you guys probably, if you watch the stream a lot, you know me, I don't have a lot of patience for a game needing to get good. It's like, it's either good or it's not. It was good enough right out the gate. I do think they've probably crossed some line with this series where, the kiddie stuff is fine. I like the art style, but now you throw in Princess Zelda with the purples and the pinks, and it really does look like a preschool game is kind of what it looks like. And it's kind of goofy in that. And I can't imagine I know it was number 1 in Japan when it came out, but it was like down at number 6 in the UK over the weekend. I don't know how this one's going to do, but I will say that it took about an hour and a half for me to get my head around, the echoes. I understood them right away. Like, I knew it wasn't like I couldn't get my head around what is this, but it felt weird to go running into Hyrule Field and through the Zelda world without some kind of, game mechanic language to engage with the environment immediately. You always have to summon an echo other than just spinning, which you can use to kind of, get rid of weeds and stuff in the environment. But once you start collecting the right echoes, which doesn't take very long, it's actually quite cool because you can summon them so quickly that it almost feels like you're using magic, right? Like you kill this one thing that kind of rolls around, it's like a rock thing. It's been in a bunch of Zeldas and it rolls forward and then it, reorients and rolls again. And at first you're like, well, what do I do with that? And then when you kind of put that in your main echo slot, it's like, oh, this is like a wizard's attack, right? So it's gotten really good. It's gotten its hooks in me. I love 2D Zeldas. I've never really cared. I've respected and I've admired the 3D Zeldas, but I absolutely adore the 2D Zeldas, and I'm loving this one. I just don't agree with you. JB in the chat says Nintendo just seems to me to get rewarded for not trying that hard. You, in my opinion, good sir, you couldn't be more wrong about that. One of the, this is a game that is, so obviously designed first and then themed second. And most game companies do not do that. They start with the theme. And it's so clear in this game when it all starts to come together in the first hour or so, and you kind of start realizing, oh my God, look how, how much interesting freedom and creativity this game gives the player. This is a game that understands gameplay better than the vast majority of video games out there today. So I do not agree that this is a lazy, not trying hard game. I don't know how hard they had to work to make this game, but it is, it's going to be overlooked for Game of the Year. It's going to be overlooked for a lot of reasons. But if you can actually, if you're really into games and game design, and I'll be talking more about this one on Brain on Games because it's a really interesting title. There's some really neat shit they're doing in this game. The best Zelda is Link to the Past, says I need something. I don't agree with you. I know a lot of people do. I think the best Zelda of all time is A Link Between Worlds, I think, is actually better than A Link to the Past. Morgan says, my issue with Zelda is I'm sick of it being a menuized game with a lack of focus on dungeons and a decent narrative. I've never really cared about the narrative in Zelda. I think the 2D dungeons are pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Jaffe says, Magnum, did you know this game started off as a Zelda builder game? No, I didn't, but it absolutely makes sense. But no, I'm loving this. I'm playing this right now, and I'm sure I'll be talking about this on the more game design centric stream or video coming up this week or next week. Okay. Listen to this. Whatever. I mean, I agree with Sean Layden, but I mean, how many times the guy says this all the time? He went on stage at, I think it was, where was he? Gamescom in Asia. And they did a really nice interview with him. I'm a big fan of Sean Layden. He will never come on the show because he knows I'll ask him about China. That's my guess. But he continues to bang the drum and say that, money's killing creativity in big AAA games, blah, blah, blah. So it's a good read. It's a good interview. He says AA is pretty much dead. He says, noting the general standard of games, including indie games, it's much higher thanks to advancement in tools. Now, if we can just get a bit more interest and excitement and exposure for these lower budget, but super creative and super unusual types of games, I'd like to see more of that. Because if we're just going to rely on blockbusters, says Sean Layden, to get us through, I think that's a death sentence. I think that's totally true. I think that's totally fucking true. But I think, you know, it's just a fascinating thing to watch. It's a car crash in slow motion. I will tell you, we're going to get to, in just a second, we're going to get to the Xbox showcase, but one of the games that they dropped today, they had like a third party or a partnership showcase or whatever, is a game called Blindfire. And I bring it up as it relates to what Sean is saying, which is why I brought this up. Let me show you the trailer while we're talking, if you're able to see this. So what it is it's a multiplayer online shooter. Yeah, I know. Blindfire game. But the whole thing takes place in the dark, right? So you're like in this warehouse and you're fighting other people, but you can't really see much of anything because it's dark. And every now and then lights will come on or spotlights will move around and people will fire and you'll get a sense of where they are, and sound really matters. And it's got a lot of fucking potential. It's really pretty cool. The biggest problem with this game, and I immediately tweeted this to the developers and the social media guys, like, okay, I'll make sure that they get the comment. But they have two modes in the game. They have team deathmatch, which is great. And then they have a game designer mode, which, I don't know if this is true, but no, it's not VR, that the game designer fought for. I don't know if that's true, but it seems true, where it's basically like you die, it's round based, right? So it's like last man standing 5 rounds. And I get it. And I actually won that match a couple of times, but for a game that's this unique, it's not that it's crazy unique, but it's unique enough, and people, they get thrown into the dark. They don't quite know what to do. The last thing you want is if you die and then you're just sitting there for 8 minutes waiting for the next round, which is what happens. And I immediately, after about 20 minutes of playing this game, I immediately started seeing more and more people dropping, and the modes are random. And I wrote to them and I said, guys, you've got to get rid of this mode for now. Maybe it should come back. It's a good mode. It's fun. It's tense, but you're on your first day. And you need, people are washing out because, you barely understand what the game is and you die, and then you're just sitting there for 8 minutes. Marcus Orr says, team deathmatch, blah, there needs to be some unique game mode. No, there isn't. No, there doesn't. I understand, but I've been there. Trust me. As a gamer, as a designer, I agree with you. But this is unique enough on its own. Most people play team deathmatch. Okay. If you can't nail team deathmatch, you're fucked, because that's what most people will play, no matter how interesting your mode is and clever. And it does not make a goddamn bit of difference. People will just walk away because everything from the fact that they don't want to, they want to feel like someone's got them if they're not very good, or they're just like, they understand that. So the gimmick lies somewhere else in the game. But anyway, this is actually, you can get the free trial right now on Xbox and PC. And this game could not have cost much money at all. And I don't care. I'm going to say it till the cows come home, because maybe one day somebody who works at Sony, will listen and go, yeah, well, either I've been thinking that forever, Jaffe, we're already doing it, or fine, Jaffe, you're right, which is, this should have been Concord, right? I don't mean literally, although this is more interesting than Concord, but you don't need to spend a lot of money to figure out if this is gonna, be worth your time. Stop with everything having to be spit polished. I know it's your DNA, but times have fucking changed. Okay. Eventually, if this is great, like Splitgate or something, then you can start throwing ducats at it. But why? This may be dead by the weekend. The team, just like with Drawn to Death, we looked at the numbers after 3 days and we knew we were dead. We knew there was no coming back, right? These guys should be able to, I think they're going to fare a hell of a lot better than we did, but they should be able to look at the numbers over the weekend and go, oh my God, we're on to something. Okay, cool. Let's put a little bit more money there, put a little bit more money there. And then maybe you're off to the races. I was watching the Padres try to get into the World Series last week. They didn't make it. They didn't beat the Dodgers, but there was this one story about, I guess, one of their really successful hitters, and his story is irrelevant. It's just, it's all about the farm league. It's all about the small teams that you can start to find this talent. And it's not just the individual talent. It's like, you can start to find these games that are like, shit, we made that. You never know what's going to stick. That one stuck. We own it. Let's make that our next big thing. You know, I don't understand. But regardless, though, it's not on PS5, Wayne, at least not right now. I'm sure it's coming. Most of what you saw today on the Xbox partner showcase, the vast majority of it is coming not just to PlayStation 5, but enhanced with PlayStation 5 Pro. They just had a showcase today. But so I'm sure this will be coming. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but almost everything else they showed is. But right now, if you want to play it, you can play it for a free trial on PC and Xbox. And it's fun. It's really, really fun. Maybe, you can I think you can do private games. So maybe we can do some private games over the weekend, or maybe during lunch with Jaffe on Saturday, we can do some private games. But it's cool. It's cool. I just want to bring that up, especially as it relates to what Sean was talking about. Okay. Also, I just want to tell you, there's a lot of worry and complaints and the industry's dying, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure there's a lot of truth to that. But I just want to, let's point out some good news. Some good news from time to time. That's going to go on my gravestone if I ever had a gravestone. If you will suck it, you'll touch it. Come on, you know it's true. I don't even remember saying that, but it sounds like me. It Takes Two, 20 million copies sold. I really like that game. It Takes Two, 20 million copies sold. I am very curious at this point because this is a game that is, you'd never think it would sell that much. But like, I wonder if the Keighley Game of the Year award factor makes a difference. I mean, it's hard to tell because most things that win Game of the Year are big already, but It Takes Two might be the first sign that winning a Game of the Year, like winning an Oscar used to be, it may actually move the financial needle, which would be disturbing but wonderful. Listen to this one. Warhammer, Space Marine, is it 2? 4.5 million players so far. Now, they didn't say copies sold, so I don't really know why they couldn't distinguish that. But it's sold a Warhammer game selling certainly over 2 million. That's pretty fucking good. Zelda, hard to say if it's selling brilliantly. It opened at number 1 in Japan, but it was kind of number 5 and 6 in the UK, so who knows? Silent Hill, we know they announced yesterday, worldwide in 3 days, has sold over 1 million copies, which is great. And then Metaphor Fantasio in 1 day sold over 1 million copies. I don't know if that one's... I know Silent Hill's going to have legs. I don't know if it's going to have the legs to be a competitor to Resident Evil's remakes. Those are much more mainstream games than Silent Hill, but that's still pretty fucking good. Fantasio is really fucking good. I'm curious if it seems like word of mouth is going to carry that just like Persona, so that's going to sell for a long, long, long time. 2D Man says Warhammer sold more than Star Wars. Yeah, I mean, I like Star Wars more so far, but it got great reviews. People seem to love it. It Takes Two was a really good game, was my game of the year, says Wayne. I hope there's a sequel. I'm sure there will. They were teasing today that that studio, Joseph Farr's studio, I think that's how you say his name, is doing something new. And whether it's a sequel, I think it said new IP though, so it may not be. So anyway, so that's some good news, right? That's good that things are selling in the AAA space, as bad as things are going in a lot of ways. Yeah, this will tie into this. Mala asked, Jaffe, you've probably been asked this, but what do you think about the rumors about the God of War Greek Saga remaster? I think it's great. Well, I'm going to answer that question from John in a second, but hang on. So I think it's great that they're remastering it. I don't know if it's a remake or a remaster. I would love it to be, like I said the other day, more like the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, where they had the Greek mythology sections. I don't know if it's going to be that or just like a big shiny HD. I have no idea what it's going to be. And I don't even know if it's actually true, but that's the rumor I've heard for sure. John says, how come when Konami sells 1 million copies of Silent Hill 2, it's great news, but when Square sells 3 million of Final Fantasy, they're not happy with it? Well, again, I don't know when those numbers for Final Fantasy 16 came out, but this is Konami saying they sold 3 million. They sold 1 million in 3 days. Are you saying that Square said that Final Fantasy 16 sold 3 million in 3 days and they weren't happy? But frankly, Square is never fucking happy. They always say it never meets expectations. So, you know, who the fuck knows? Maybe the problem then is with the guy, that makes their expectations or sets their expectations. Maybe that's the biggest problem with Square is they have really out of whack, expectations. I don't know, but I'm glad that Konami and Bloober are happy enough with the numbers that they are trumpeting them. It's great. It's one of the best games of the year and easily one of the top 5 horror games ever made. It is excellent. And in fact, one of the things they showed today, which we'll get to in a minute at the Xbox Showcase, was different director, but a new Bloober Team horror game. And man, that's what I've been wanting from them after playing Silent Hill 2. I'm like, no, don't go back to fucking horror. Don't go back to Silent Hill. Make your own horror. And it's not the same director, but it is the same team. So hopefully, because he's the creative director of the studio at this point, the guy who directed Silent Hill 2 and Layers of Fear and Observer, hopefully this guy's taking notes and he's kind of being under this guy's wing and we'll get something good. We'll look at that trailer. It's called Chronos in just a minute. Okay. I also, before we get to that, though, I want to say a couple things about this. Did you see the study that came out? I'm sure you know the answer, but I'm going to make it a quiz just in case you don't, because it's fun. I like questions. I like quizzes. Study shows that this particular type of gamer makes the most money out of all console players as adults. Let me read that again for you and see if you can guess. Study shows that this particular type of gamer makes the most money, like as a working adult, out of all other console players as adults. Okay? So I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This was a study done with 1,000 people. They were all Americans, so not all Americans like football heroes, but they were all American human beings. 1,000 of them, and this is what they found out. And it, you know, I think when you get, and the reason I tell you that 1,000 American adults, these numbers start to make a little bit more sense. A person who primarily games on the PC makes the least amount of money. They make on average, now again, depends where you live. In San Diego, you couldn't live on this, but $55,000 a year. People who play primarily on Xbox make $60,000 a year. People who play on Nintendo make $60,000 a year, a little bit more, $60,500. And then the number one is PlayStation players make $62,276 on average. And then the games they play. So I'm assuming other than one of these, if you're playing them on PlayStation, this is where you kind of get into the ducats. If you play a lot of Madden, you make $66K a year on average. NBA 2K is $67K a year. Doom, I don't know which one, Eternal I assume, $67K a year, a little bit more than NBA. Candy Crush will get you $70,000. And then FIFA will get you $70,700 a year. Now, part of this is, of course, the fact that nobody's buying Xbox anyway. And part of this is the fact that most people who have PCs don't have to be gamers, but you could have still participated in the study. So you could be a kind of sort of gamer. And then Nintendo makes sense not at the top because a lot of people who play Nintendo are kids. But still, when they asked adults, PlayStation came into the lead and FIFA was number 1. So, interesting though. Interesting numbers, I would say. Yeah, I wanted to believe that like the people like us who play. Yeah, Lucas says I need to play some FIFA. Then that's right. I wanted to believe that people who were playing Baldur's Gate and Elden Ring and stuff, because of those really require, imagination and really unique puzzle solving and strategies and all kinds of things like that. I wanted to think that those would be the ones that rise to the top. And I'm sure maybe if you were to say, what out of the billionaires or the really successful people in the world, what do they play? Right. But on average, the average person is playing on PlayStation with very Joe Sixpack games, FIFA, Doom, NBA 2K, and Madden. But a lot of that is just because those are the most successful. So it's a little skewed, but it's interesting. Thought it was a lot of fun. I need something to be happy says, now I hate hard games. I understand. The number one reason people play games, or the benefits of games, is stress relief and entertainment and fun and escape and strategic thinking, by the way. That also is part of the study. All right. What's that? All right. Thank you, buddy. All right. Listen to this. Listen to this. Development of the live-action God of War TV show will now be starting over from scratch. They got rid of the showrunner, a fellow who likes to go by the name of Jaffe Judkins. Yeah, because he's probably busy dealing with the fact his name is Jaffe Judkins. The studio wants to move in a different creative direction despite praising the previous scripts. So everybody's gone. Obviously, the PlayStation production folks are not gone. Corey's not gone. But the people that they had pulled together and said, let's make this thing, they're moving in a different creative direction. Which, I mean, I don't know what the creative direction was. I didn't read the fucking scripts. I have gone on numerous record, whatever that means, and said, I wouldn't make a TV series out of the current God of War narrative. I don't think it's, I think for a video game, it's good. And I loved the 2018 game, but it's not, it's built on a lot of tropes, right? We've seen so much of this kind of story, and we've seen in TV so much of this kind of setting, with the Lord of the Rings thing and the Game of Thrones thing. And like they need, I definitely think it felt like if they were just going to make the Norse series as a prestige TV show, it probably wouldn't benefit from just being prestige. It needs something else. I don't agree though. JB says the story was trash. Just say it, Jaffe. It wasn't trash. I thought it was a good story, especially the 2018 one I really enjoyed. But I think outside of it being a game and outside of you, like, ask yourself this, right? To make a show this expensive, you have to get the majority of people to fall in love with it that have never heard of Kratos and have never heard of God of War, right? So it's not about coming to it with the appreciation and enjoyment of the fact, like we got to as gamers, and go, we are really digging this, not just because of what it is, but because of where it's been and how it's developed and blah, blah, blah. But your average person who watches this show that they need to watch this show is not going to have that. They're just going to go, oh, it's about a grumpy father with maybe some weird backstory and his kid. And that's fine, but I could see them going, or maybe they're going back to that. Maybe the thing could run so far afoul of what Sony's doing, or what Corey's doing. I don't know. But I would say that I think God of War is right back where it was after Ascension. Not in terms of financially, but I think this is a series that really, I talked about this the other day. I mean, there's nothing else to say. It's a series that needs to find its purpose again. And a show, I don't know. I mean, hell, I worked on the fucking God of War games. I don't want to watch a fucking show based on it. I did back in the day, but then all the mythology movies started coming out, and the mythology TV shows, and the fantasy movies and fantasy TV shows. And now I'm like, okay, I've seen that on screen, man. I've seen the Hydra on screen and Hercules. It was terrible, but I've seen it, you know? So I don't know what I would do with this, but I would definitely take a step back and go, what's the heartbeat of this? Because I don't think they know. I could be wrong though. We'll see. Come on. I have a very weird relationship with this game, as anybody knows. So don't, you know, listen to this though. I'm excited for this. The previews came out yesterday, for, the previews came out. Well, you guys in the chat are saying, do a God of War Greek saga. I mean, yeah, sure. I would be more into that just because setting wise, you know, I'm tired of snowy mountain ranges. I'm tired of them in the games. I'm tired of them in the TV shows. I wouldn't mind seeing really big budget, you know, Ray Harryhausen shit, but you know, is what it is. We'll see. But again, I'm not the right guy to have an opinion, but anyway, so Stalker 2 came out previews yesterday. A lot of people playing it. I have never played in my life a Stalker game, right? So I don't really know what I'm getting into, but I have loved watching the previews unfold. This one right here is from GameSpot, but what I didn't know about it was how much freedom there was. And I don't mean open world freedom, although of course there is that, but apparently the narrative, they did an interview with the creative director, and he said, you know, a lot of games that are open world go on and on about the physical freedom in the game. And of course we have that. But for us, what we're really excited about as well is the narrative freedom. And what this guy talked about, this reporter who played this, he said there was this one mission he went on at the demo where some military guys asked him to go after this guy to kill him or bring him back in, or I forget what he was supposed to do. And they gave him like 2 or 3 submissions and said, okay, you know, go here, do this, go here, do that, and then you'll be able to find where this guy is. And this guy says, the reporter says, you know, there was so much freedom in the game that I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but I'm going to wander around because I'm excited and I want to explore. And it's a survival game and it's pretty hardcore. And you know, he said, once you kind of get into the vibe of it, it's really compelling. And he said in wandering around, he just happened upon the guy who was hiding from the military, which was his main goal. And so suddenly he was given a choice to, do I kill this guy? Do I bring this guy in, or do I let this guy go? And he said what he chose, the story just wrote itself. I mean, it didn't, it was pre-written. It's not AI, but he said the story just molded around his choices. And apparently the team is like, yeah, that's a big part of it for us, is a real sense of making this sort of emergent narrative sandbox. So I don't know how much of that we're going to get. And I don't know, I'm glad there's a mode. There's 3 difficulty modes. The normal mode of this game apparently is set to really hard. They said the default is really hard. I'll probably drop it down to easy. Then there's a super really fucking hard one. Because easy for me in this game is probably going to be barely doable, but I love the emergence. I love the narrative stuff. I love the sandbox stuff. And I'm only starting to learn about Stalker, which is, I didn't realize there were supernatural elements to it. There are like, ancient relics that have weird powers and monsters and all kinds of shit. I'm like, what? I thought this was just some kind of Call of Duty shooter set in, Eastern Europe, but, so we'll see. But and it's coming to Game Pass day one. There are a couple of the previews yesterday that said, if what we played is indicative of the whole thing, this is a Game of the Year contender. At least that's what these guys said. Again, I don't know, but I'm excited to try it. And, it's nice to see it having turned the corner. I know that, I get it. Stalker 2 looks great for the development team having to go through what they went through, says JB. Yeah, but I hope that really isn't, for the sake of the team and for the sake of gamers. Yes, if you don't know what he's talking about, this is a game that was developed in Ukraine while the war was happening, which is still happening with Russia, and one of their developers went to fight in the war and died. So And that, of course, kind of filters its way into a lot of the stories these journalists are writing. But ultimately, the game is going to be the game. So I don't want to like it because of how hard it was to develop. I want to like it because I like it, right? So, we'll see. We'll see. But this looks really good. And this will be on PC and this will be on Xbox, and it comes out in November. So it's going to be, like I've said many times before, whether Xbox Game Pass or Xbox first party lives or dies, if they can't get it right by February, after we've gotten this game, Call of Duty, Indiana Jones, and Avowed, they will never get it right. And they will either never get it right because that business model simply won't work. I don't believe that's the case, but a lot of you guys do, and that's fine. Or they'll never get it right because the business model works, but they don't have the right people in charge. But this sounds pretty fucking great. This sounds pretty fucking great. Is it coming to PS5, says Darth Nugget? I don't know that. Maybe somebody in the chat could look it up and let us know. But I have no idea. Stalker is a well-respected property, says Vita, that just kind of evades mainstream gaming. Right, which is another great reason it's on Game Pass. It's like suddenly here's this thing that maybe console gamers have tangentially been aware of, like me. Suddenly, hey, well, fuck it, I'll try it. Why not? Why not? So interesting. Carlo says it is coming out on PS5 6 months later, but it sounds like Morgan's saying it's not. So I have no fucking clue. But day one, it's definitely not coming out. But I'll be playing it on PC GeForce Now for sure. So anyway, a lot of these are out right now. The previews from all the outlets, go check them out. See what you think. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of these, but speaking of Xbox, they did do a, what's it called? They did a partner preview today. And I'll just kind of scrub through, some of the ones that I thought were worth talking about. If there's some you guys want to watch or talk about, let me know. Let me hit this real quick. Dougie Jones says, Jaffe, wondering how the Trump apologists in the community are coping and finding ways to justify his comments about banning video games, violent games. Just to be clear on that, I don't know why that suddenly has gotten traction. That clip of Donald Trump talking about we need to look at these violent video games, that was from 2019. When he was president, that was coming on the heels. And I hate Donald Trump. I can't stand the guy. I don't want him to win. But I just want to, I also don't like bullshit. And that was coming on the heels of the El Paso shooting. And obviously nothing happened. So I think suddenly this clip now making the rounds again, and a lot of people, including game sites, reporting on it like it just happened. I'm like, dude, this is 6 years old. So this is what I would say. I wouldn't worry about it. Donald Trump's not going to ban a goddamn thing. I'm voting for Kamala Harris day one. The only day I can vote for her. But I'm happy. I'm getting up early. I'm happily voting for the woman. But what I'll tell you is, if anybody's going to limit certain freedoms, it's not going to be Donald Trump in terms of when it comes to artistic freedoms. He doesn't give a shit. He may put people in the Supreme Court that'll do it, though. That's true. But yeah, I think Donald Trump's just like, I don't give a fuck, man. Let's make some money, But I'm whatever. It is what it is. Okay. Let's move forward. All right.
House.
Okay.
Exclusively.
So they showed Alan Wake, the lake house. It looked good, but again, it's not for me. I was really disappointed that I could not fall in love with Alan Wake, because I loved Silent Hill 2. Just insanely cool. I love horror, and I thought this would be right up my alley, but it was just too slow, man. Hello, David Seeger. Good to see you too, buddy. It was just it's just too fucking slow. I could not vibe with it, right? But this does, if you love Alan Wake, man, it looks cool. It looks really, really cool. So this is this was the first thing they showed. Then they showed a new game, and I do want to show this whole trailer because I was waiting to watch the whole thing before you guys, or with you guys. This is the new game from the Silent Hill developer publisher Bloober team, right? So they're the guys who just made Silent Hill 2. They were in the shithouse for a long time, and they deserved to be in the shithouse for a long time because a lot of the games they made had potential, but they weren't connecting. But now with Silent Hill 2 connecting, suddenly everybody, including me, our ears are perked up going, maybe they've turned the corner. Let's check it out. This is their new game, and then we'll talk about it on the flip side. I think it's called Chronos or something. Let's give it a watch. All right. So, I mean, I think it's coming out 2025. I'm assuming it's going to be on everything. I don't think this is a Microsoft-funded game at all. Obviously, that there's, we don't really know what the game is yet. It looks like it's a third-person horror shooter. I believe Bloober was the team that said we're trying to get away. We still want to be horror, but we're trying to get more into a little bit more action, a little bit more of a commercial take. And so I think this is the remnants, or this is the birth of that. So at an IP level, because they're not really showing much, it's compelling as a piece of horror IP setup. It's about maybe time travel and who's the lady, blah, blah, blah. So, and honestly, the guys who made it, or at least the publisher who made it, they've earned my attention now again, because Silent Hill 2, it's a different director, and it's probably, I don't know how many of the Silent Hill teams moved on to this, the teammates. So I don't know how many of those people are working on this, or if they're totally separate. But it's still pretty cool. And so I'm, Lucas says it raises questions, and that's great for a trailer and a new IP. Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. So I think this is pretty cool. What else did they show? This was the game we talked about earlier. This is the Blindfire, which at first I thought was the game they were doing that was sort of sponsored by Stevie Wonder, but it's not. This is an actual shooter that's played in the dark. You can play it right now if you're coming to the stream. You didn't hear us talking about it earlier. It's really good. If you play the right mode. If you play the, last man standing mode, you're going to be waiting a long time because it's really annoying. But this is interesting. This is out. We talked about this if you want to hear more earlier in the show. What was this? The Yakuza pirate thing looks, I've played maybe 30 minutes of a Yakuza game my whole life, and I thought it was kind of fun, kind of interesting. But this looks batshit stupid in a wonderful way. So, and this is not Xbox. None of these, I don't think any of these are Xbox exclusives, but this looks really cool. This is the Yakuza Pirate's Life, or whatever the fuck it's called. And I'm super in. I want to play this. And I think it's coming out relatively soon. Let's see when this is coming out. And look at all these guys fighting. Look at that. Come on now. And this is in the series of, it's not called Like a Tiger. What was their thing that came out recently that was kind of a sub version of Yakuza that got a lot of love? That was, is that Samoa Joe? Oh, Samoa Joe's in the game. Look at that. He's the guy who plays Sweet Tooth. Like a Dragon. Okay, right. So anyway, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is the full name, and it's coming beginning of next year. So yeah, I'm in. Looks fun. I'll be doing that. This is the is this Mouse? This is the shooter, I think. Let's watch. This is a new trailer. Let's watch this. So it's basically like Cuphead, but it's a shooter.
A clue, a lead.
First-person shooter.
What more could a mouse detective want?
And it looks fun. And if you read interviews with the developer, they say yes.
This is a real mouse changer.
So if you read interviews with the developer, it's like Awesome Tatum says, I think Mouse, which is this game, will be a style over substance game, but I'm playing it. That's what I was worried about. But then I read an interview with them, and I saw some new trailers, and they were like, yeah, that's not this. We're absolutely aware of that as a fear, and we do a lot of interesting things in the gameplay and the level design. So I don't know if that's just lip service, but I was and remain skeptical. I think it's correct to be skeptical of a game like this, where it's all about the art style, but at least they're saying the right stuff. So this is coming out in 2025, and this will be on everything. There were very few Game Pass games on this, let alone exclusive Xbox games. So, and then they showed, they had Subnautica. The rest of it was like, there's some good stuff. Animal Well is coming. It may already be there to Xbox. Whatever. They had a couple things that looked like another Wukong. Which this is a Game Pass game. Yeah, there were some Game Pass games. There just weren't a lot. But yeah, this will be Game Pass, which is called, let's see what this is called. Looks pretty good, But there's a Wukong style game. It says it's like a Souls-like game that's on everything that looks really fucking good. Yeah, and then there's a multiplayer control game from the Remedy guys as well. So what is this? What is this thing called? This one is called Eternal Strands. Gross. Anyway, I mean, you can watch it on your own, but I'm just letting you know it happened today. There was some good stuff they showed. Who knows what's going to blow your mind, but the stuff that I talked about already is the stuff that really has me excited for it. So, okay. But there is this, let me just show you this one real quick, just because it's worth looking at. It's called Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. And it looks, it looks amazing. Let me rewind it a little bit. Look at this thing. Yeah, I mean, it looks excellent. I hope that it's more open than Wukong, like level design wise, and I also hope it's not as fucking hard, or if it is, they offer a difficulty mode. Because I'm never finishing Wukong. I just have to accept it. I have to fucking accept it. And I mean, it hasn't been that hard, but I don't want the frustration, you know. No, this is a brand new game though. It's not a sequel to anything. I don't believe so. I know it's a Chinese developer, but I don't know who it is. Oh, that's a Game Pass game. I did not know that was Game Pass. But, like, remember the game that came out for Game Pass recently, like last year before Wukong came out from Team Ninja? And it was just like, you know, it kind of came and went. You're like, how did that beautiful, amazing game come and go? But it just kind of did, man. Just kind of came and went. Wolong, right, exactly. Just, you know, I don't think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad at all, but here's all the games that they showed today. So, it, you know, for what it was, which was a partner preview, it wasn't like an exclusive thing. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good show for what it was. Okay. Let's move forward with our goddamn live, shall we? Listen to this. I don't get this. This is coming. This is a tweet I'm about to read, you guys. This is coming off the heels of a new law that was signed in California, which is obviously going to have effects all over, honestly, the world, because, you know, you're not going to adjust it for California and not adjust it for everywhere else. But basically, there's a law now, goes into effect the 1st of January, that says if you buy a digital product, like a movie, a game, whatever, the companies are required to make it very clear right up front in normal everyday language that, hey man, you don't own this. What you're buying is a license that could go away at any moment. It's a great thing for consumers. I love it. It's excellent. Great. But what's come out of that is this kind of comment that I've seen a lot whenever this story comes up in either in comment sections or the social media, where people say, if buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing. And I'm just kind of like, what? Like, I bring it up because I'm like, there's got to be people in this chat that understand what they're trying to say, because I don't think that makes any sense. If just because the companies have made it clear, which they've always made clear, you have to read the terms of service, but they're basically saying, you're renting the license from us, and maybe it's forever, maybe it's not, but it's not legally forever. They're making what has always been clear more clear. But if buying isn't owning, and in this case, you're not buying anymore, it's renting, then pirating isn't stealing. They don't seem to have anything to do with each other. And so maybe it's just dumb teenage kids who are just like, I want to pirate and I want to justify my criminal ways. Just say you're fucking okay ripping people off. And I don't mean that like I'm judging you. Shit's expensive. The companies don't care about you. And I'm not saying that means you have a right to steal. But if you steal, at least have the balls to own it and say, yeah, I stole this. I pirated this. And that's cool. Anthony Wright says, yes, but it's because you can't own it anyway. Yeah, but you're not owed the ownership. You know, you can't unilaterally say, I was okay enough with the people who sold me this stuff before, but now that I'm not okay with it, I'm just going to steal it. It's like, you can say that, but you can't justify it in any way, shape, or form other than just the fact that you're stealing it, which is fine. Just admit it. Carlos says it's people who want to act all high and mighty about stealing. That's what it seems like. Fee says you don't own any game on Steam. They just pirate no matter what. Don't bother. It's just slow PC gamers. They don't even play games because their PC can't run them. Okay, could be that. If I don't own it, then nothing can be stolen in the first place, says Morgan. That's not true. That's like saying that if you rent a Ferrari from a car dealership for a month, because you don't own it, there's no difference than going onto the lot and stealing it. Because what? I don't you're not even buying a license to play the game, JB. You're renting a license, basically, at their discretion. Anthony says, I disagree. We are owed ownership, and I buy mostly digital. But you're not owed it. You're only owed it if they sell it. And if that's the deal you've entered into with them, but you haven't. It doesn't matter if the Ferrari's physical and the game is digital. Who gives a shit? What does that matter? That one is, where is that in the law? That if something is digital, it is fundamentally able to have different laws applied. Nothing is lost if it gets pirated. Oh, come on, Morgan. I'm not being condescending when I say you're way too smart to say something like that, but you're way too smart to say something like that. Of course, something's lost if you pirate something digital. What's lost are sales of people who are going to buy it. Money is lost, and that money goes somewhere else. Of course, things are lost. Maram says the problem is they're cornering us into a model where you don't own anything anymore. They're not cornering you. Just don't buy it. You're not owed it is what I'm saying. The concept is when you bought a game back in the day, it was yours. Now you can't. So if you charge $80 to play a game, you don't own it, then I will pirate to keep it. And again, that is fine, Tech, if you are accepting the fact that you're breaking the law and you're like, yeah, but I don't really care because I think the law is wrong. Totally fine. But there's nothing, it's not justified legally is all. You assume all piracy would be sales, says Morgan. It doesn't matter. I don't care if no one would have bought it. That's like saying, I'm not gonna buy a Ferrari. I will never spend my money on a Ferrari. Because of that, I can steal it. Or I will never spend my money on Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I won't. If it's not in Game Pass, I'd never play it. Oh, that means I can steal it? What? What are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense. Availability is part of the thing, says Moran. Availability is part of the thing for you. That's what you want, and that's fine. But you're not owed what you want. If it's not for sale, it's not for sale. Just because you want it. So what? There's a lot of things I want, but I'm not owed it just because I want it. Anyway. Toxmod says it's funny how ethical some of you gamers are, pirating games and fighting for physical media. You guys are hypocrites. I agree with Stoner Joe. You are not owed what you want. That's right. Doesn't mean you don't break the law. Yes, Maram, that's exactly what I'm saying. Maram says what you're saying is we should let companies do whatever they want as long as they can do it. Yep. And you should not buy their products. And you should stay away from them, and they will go out of business if enough people think like you do. That's how it works. That's exactly how it works. That's right, Wayne B. Wayne B says you were not owed our money then. Yep. That's right. Drawn to Death went out of business or put my company out of business. I don't blame gamers for that. We didn't do enough to give them a product that they wanted to give Sony money for that then gave us money. You didn't owe me money for Drawn to Death. You don't owe me money for this stream. I have memberships for this stream, and there will be things I do just for members and not for people who don't pay. But that's the deal we've entered into. I'm staggered that you guys feel that you're owed these games just sort of out of thin air. It's weird to me, man. Again, I'm not opposed to you pirating if that's what you want to do. Just don't fucking wrap it in a cloak of nobility. Just accept it. It's like, yeah, I don't want to buy it. I'm breaking the law. I'm good with that. Who said we are owed them? I don't know. Whoever I was just talking to. Okay, let's move forward though. Now, I guess, like I said, I assume some of you guys would vibe with that other side. It's not a protect the rich straw man argument. Addy Pie, I guarantee you, I would vote and have voted for more socialist programs than you have. I'm not about protecting the rich. The 1% and the 10% can go fuck themselves. There's nothing to do with that. Okay. Okay. Am I going to play Mario Party? Maybe, but right now I'm really wrapped into Zelda. So, have I ever stolen anything? Yes, not physical. I just never had the need to or the desire. But there was a point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to save some money. And I started reading comic books off the internet that were out like the day they came out. And I did that for about a month or two. And right around that time, Marvel then released Marvel Unlimited, which is basically Netflix for comics. And I've been subscribing to that, and I've been subscribing to DC Universe or whatever since then. And I've been very happy doing that. So, but yeah, I have. I mean, again, I get it. Look, I'm not, companies, fuck you. I am not, these motherfuckers they should pay more taxes. They get away with murder. I have no love for these billionaire corporations at all. Even though a lot of these people that are being hurt by this are probably the developers that are struggling just to stay alive. But that said, though, it's not where my mind's coming from. It's coming from more of a place of just accept you're fucking breaking the law and be okay with it. Dustin, thank you for the super chat. He says, I would have paid to play Drawn to Death, Pop. I appreciate that. I'm proud of it. I don't look back on it like it was a bad game. We made some really stupid decisions, but I appreciate the super chat and I appreciate the comment. I was a fan of that game, man. I thought it was really cool. Listen to this, man. Tonight at midnight. Yeah, there you go. Carlos says Jaffe stole, but he's not acting like Robin Hood is the difference. Right. 100%. Yeah, I broke the law. I stole. I put my own personal selfish needs above that of the nobility of doing what is often, but not always, the right thing. Okay. This game comes out tonight. I think either at midnight California time or 9. These are the retro arcade games, Ash, Evil Dead, and Halloween. It's really kind of cool. That I guess they're going to build a whole series of these types of games. Way Forward is doing them, or at least doing a lot of them. And you can like swap characters. So if you're playing Ash in the Evil Dead and then you buy the Michael Myers Halloween game, then you can bring Ash into the Halloween world and stuff. And apparently, the reviews so far are pretty good. People say it's too expensive. If you want both games, it'll cost you $50. That's a little crazy. But it's got an 8 right now at GameSpot. Let's see if there's been any more reviews of this thing. What is this thing called? Retro Realms Metacritic. Last I checked, there were no reviews on Metacritic yet. So all we really have is the 8 at the moment. I'll be getting the Halloween one and I'll be playing that one for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. Never heard of it? You've never heard of it? Well, let me show it to you real quick before we move on to the next story then. This is what it is. And again, I mean, it's you got to be into the retro shit. It's a brand new game, but it's from Way Forward, who make great 2D side scrollers. Yeah, it's here you go. And this is what it is. It's side scroller Michael Myers, side scroller Ash. Hello, Borked. what's weird, what I still don't fully understand about it is this idea of like, there's this meta arcade that these things live in, and you can, I don't think they've done a very good job, really communicating how the meta system, works. Like, I don't really understand that. But it still looks really, really good. And, I'm excited. So, yes, no controversy. I've seen it. It's not funny. You're not hurting me by calling it failed to death. I get it. It was a failure. Guess what? My other games, for the most part, were massive hits. The games you worked, oh, that's right, you didn't work on any games. You haven't done anything with your life. Or if you have, you don't have any pride in it because you literally are living under an anonymous name called No Controversy. Okay, so it's not that I'm bothered by the fact that you wrote failed to death. Yes, it was a failure. It was the biggest bomb critically and commercially of my career. And more importantly, it put my company out of business. And guess what? I got over it. People fail at things. That's what you do when you try. That's what you do when you step up and you swing the bat. Sometimes you strike out, and sometimes you get hung runs. But guess what? I can tell you, No Controversy. Something you already know. That if you don't step up to the plate, nothing ever fucking happens for you. So maybe you should be working on that, because my guess is you don't do that. My guess is you have a job that you don't love. You don't follow your passion. You don't follow your dreams. And you know what? That's not a death sentence, hopefully, for you. Maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe the powers that be in the universe put you in my path today to say, you know what? I've been wanting to do X for the last 10 years. I've been wanting to do Y since I was a little kid. Every day I find a reason not to get up and not to do it. Maybe today is the day that you get up out of your chair and say, you know what, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something. May fail. Probably will. Failure is part of it. That's okay. At least you tried. Seriously, I had 2 companies, no controversy. They both failed. Eat, Sleep, Play failed, and Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency failed. And guess what? Man, I would have regretted the fuck out of it. And that's why I did it, because I knew. When I was thinking, do I do this? Do I roll these dice? It could fail. I knew. It's a cliche, but it's true. I did not want to be an old man always wondering. I've always worked for somebody else. What if? What if I would have swung for the fences? So, you know, here's a virtual hug from me to you, No Controversy. Get your shit together. You don't need to be there forever. I saw a graffiti on the internet. It was a picture of graffiti on the internet once that said, if you do not change, you will be here forever. It's the best advice I ever heard. All right. Let's move forward, my tiny human beings. That's for tomorrow, because I don't understand that. In fact, you know what? I think I'm done. Because I'm working on a video. So listen, fellas. Here's the plan. I will be back Saturday for sure with Lunch with Jaffe. That'll be 11:30. I'll give you details tomorrow on the Discord. And then I'll be doing a constellation tomorrow with good Sir Dagon Moriarty and a couple other folks. And then I will be doing another Gabbin' and Games on Saturday, and I'll be putting up a video this weekend. So can we leave with something upbeat? I just gave you the best life advice in the world. Okay, you want something upbeat? Sure. I'll give you something upbeat that I was going to save for Saturday, but fuck it, I'll tell you. Listen to this. Somebody reached out to the world. I'm not up and leaving. You guys, I'm not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, I'll answer you on the Discord. So somebody was like, you know what I would like in my life? I have $20,000 burning a hole in my pocket. This isn't me. This is somebody else. And they said, you know what I'd like to spend that on? I would like to get a custom sex doll made up to look just like Baldur's Gate 3 Asterion, who I think is the vampire guy. And I'll show it to you if you'd like to see it. He's wearing some panties, so don't worry about it. Here it is right here. Look at this goddamn thing. It's $20,000 sex doll. This is an amazing doll, says the reviewer. Very well made. Details are phenomenal. I wasn't completely satisfied with the custom head. I gave him a 3D filing before printing the head. They made a few changes. Despite that, I really can't complain. Amazing customer service. All my questions were answered. They even added standing feet and a detailed body paint for free. If I can get the funds again, I would purchase from these guys again. Just if you're getting a custom head, make sure they don't make any changes or they communicate with you. So, think about that. Let me ask you this question. If you were to get a sex doll based on a video game character, who would it be? If you had to do it. Let me think for a minute. Oh, I know. Tifa. 100%. 100%. Shut up, Addie Pie, you fucking idiot. This is so cringe. Yeah, Addie Pie, really? Is it Addie Pie, you fucking idiot? Then he writes Stellar Blade. I wouldn't even do Stellar Blade Lady. I would do Stellar Blade Lady's buddy, whatever her name is. I forget what her name is. But it's not Eve. Who's Stellar Blade's friend? Aya. Is it? No, not Aya. That's Resident Evil. If I were to do Resident Evil, I would do Claire. Claire, yeah, Tacky's her name. I'd do Tacky, you goddamn right. I would do Claire Redfield is who I would do if I were to do it. But, there you go. No, she doesn't look like a kid, Morgan. Jesus, she's the one that sacrifices herself at the beginning of that goddamn game when they land on the planet. What are you talking about? Yeah, any Concord character, says Amex. Well, yeah, of course. I forgot, of course. I didn't want to be selfish. I assumed I have to save some of that for other people, okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that ending on a good enough fucking note for you motherfuckers? So let me see. Let me see if I got anything else that's going to make you happy. I'm not taking my ball and going home. I'm just, it's like, look, I like to do the Gabbin' and Game streams in the morning. Then I have a lot more energy. But I didn't want to not, well, let's bring in a call. Let's end with a call from Angel the Bunny. Here we go. Here's Angel the Bunny. Angel the Bunny, it's Jaffe the Bunny. What's going on, champ?
Oh, Jaffe.
What's up?
Nothing much, yo.
Doing a show. I think later tonight I might play some more Zelda. I don't know. I'm going to edit some tonight. What's going on? What do you want to talk about, bud?
Oh, I actually asked you a random question within the general chat.
Okay. Okay.
One of the questions that I asked was, when are you going to watch Terrifier 3 since it's literally being Joker 2?
I know. Well, I will be, let me know if you guys can hear her now. I've turned her up. I will be watching it the minute it comes to streaming. I don't plan on going to the theater to see it. But I hear it's good. I heard people who like Terrifier 2, which I did, say it's not as good as 2, but it's still really, really, really good. So I'm looking forward to it. Have you seen it?
No, but I have seen like a lot of people saying, oh, it's good and you should watch it and all of that.
Oh yeah.
And I instantly made a joke in my head. Warner Brothers is getting what they fucking deserve.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I didn't see the second Joker, but I heard it wasn't very good, so I know it's bombing and, whatever. But no, I won't be, I'm going to be watching, like I saw the TV Glow the other night, and I love watching horror. I think we're going to watch Abigail next. I think there's this thing on Shudder. Oh, I want to watch VHS 95. Which is Alana Pierce is actually in that. She's got a bit of a shot or a bit of a role in that. And I want to watch this thing called Dad's Head or something about this head that comes to life that's decapitated and shit, man. So I love the horror. I'm looking forward to it, but I don't really have any intention of going out to the theater to see it.
Okay. Meanwhile, for me, there are times where I just wait until streaming. Other times, I'm just like, I think I'm gonna go to the theater because I want to have like the better, eerie and creepy and terrifying experiences with like other people.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think the theater. I mean, I used to go to the movies all the time, like every week. I would see a movie at least once a week. I was obsessed. And then I just got to a point where enough stuff. It's probably like video games. I have such a backlog of movies I haven't seen, and I think I don't want to make it like it's a wisdom thing, but I lived long enough that I had enough experiences missing the movie after the hype died down. And I realized so much of what was getting me into the movies was the hype of it. Like, oh, I got to see this. And once I realized, oh, by Sunday that's gone, and I've still got 80 things I haven't watched yet. I like watching at home a lot more. It's just more comfortable. I can get up and pee. I can eat what I want. I bought I bought Flavacol, which is the magic ingredient they put on popcorn in the movies to make it taste like what it tastes like. Because I love popcorn, but I cannot stand microwave popcorn. It never tastes as good as the goddamn movie theater. But once you get Flavacol, which is this kind of little seasoning salt, it tastes like the fucking movie show.
Oh yeah, like there are times where I eat microwavable popcorn. Other times I like smart food popcorn, and there are other cases where I just sneak my snacks in to the theater. Like the snacks I sneak in all the time are like Swedish Fish, Sour Patch Kids, and Skittles. Sweet Tooth's favorite.
Well, it's easier too because you probably have a purse, right? It's tougher, because you go in with a backpack.
Oh no! I don't have a purse.
But how do you
have
sneak
a
them
mini
in?
Backpack.
And they let you take
How do
that
I
in.
sneak them in?
Well, sometimes they're like,
How do
well, yeah, but maybe it's calmed down a bit. Like I said, I haven't been to the theaters in a while, but I was going, and they were like, oh, we don't let backpacks in because of terror and all that stuff. But that may have just been LA.
Well, nowadays you could bring in like mini backpacks because I live in New Hampshire, by the way. Like I always bring my mini backpack whenever I go. Like I always bring my journals, like my snacks or whatever, my hairbrushes, anything.
Okay. I love that story.
And
do you know I haven't combed my hair in probably 3 decades? The last time I combed my hair was probably in high school. Just
wow.
saying. Now I don't have much to comb, but I would just always get up and dry it with a towel and push my hair back, and that was my hair. Think about that. Think about that, Angel the Bunny. All right, buddy.
Yeah, I am. I am.
I want you to think about that all night and call me tomorrow and tell me what you've learned. All right, bud. Thank you. I appreciate you calling.
Yeah,
all right.
sure.
See you, bud. There goes Angel. All right, fellas. That's the show. That's the show. Be well, be safe. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching the fucking show. I had fun. I hope you had fun too. I'm going to go play some Zelda. In the meantime, consider membership, you old salty fucks. And subscribe and like and all those good things. Okay. I'll see you guys soon. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.